let you throw the first volley out there. What's
I
your
mean,
question?
I only had two questions here about Hyper, and basically, is there any new updates or information? Because I watched like some videos about a week ago, so if there's any new information, that'd be great. And then maybe just explaining for new users like what Hyper is. Obviously, there'll be more information when that actually is out there, and like there's more information. But basically, like what the idea of it is, because the idea of Hyper plays into the game theory of TitanX, right? At least in my mind, it does. So I think it's important to at least understand what this Hyper thing is, because yeah, there's game theory aspects of that. So those are my only two questions, and I appreciate it.
Yep. So even if Hyper was an absolute piece of garbage, there's still two big reasons or three big reasons why you wanted to burn for Hyper. One is the burn pool. So once the burn pool currently is not enabled, if you can see it if you go to burn pool on the website, it will get enabled once Hyper is live, and then 7% of the Ethereum goes towards filling that burn pool. So 7% of the Ethereum of the miners that get started.
Yeah, hang on. Just can you explain what Hyper is, though, just to kind of like before we get into the nitty gritty of it, because that'd be great. Appreciate it.
So the best way to look at Hyper, the way I kind of think about it in my head, is it's kind of like the native staking for TitanX, because you're going to be able to lock up your Hyper, and you're going to be able to earn staking rewards. So it starts at 8% and goes up to 35%. And the longer you lock, the higher your APR. So the difference is massive. The way I'm kind of looking at Hyper is it's like a store of value within the TitanX ecosystem where you can burn your TitanX. The best game theory would be to get TitanX, stake it, get an Ethereum payout, and then burn your stake for Hyper. Then you stake your Hyper for a certain amount of period of time. And because the biggest liquidity pool is going to be TitanX and Hyper, as you stake Hyper and you get more Hyper, it's almost, I'm not going to say guaranteed because I don't like that word, but it's almost guaranteed that you're going to be able to take your Hyper and get more TitanX with it because the ratio moves up over time. So it's kind of like the native staking. It's like trust as yield within the TitanX ecosystem. That is not Ethereum. It's like native, trustless, similar to Hex. Yeah, you can compare it to Hex. And then there's a lot of reasons to do it. So Hyper exists also to give everybody a ability to get liquid on their stakes. That's a very big reason why a lot of people are going to do it.
Yeah, and Hyper is a new coin and a new thing, right? And the only way, just for people who are like, Brent, like, what is this, right? It's a new coin, and the only way that you're going to be able to get it early, like when it first comes out, is you can either buy it on the market when it launches, right? Because I'm sure there'll be some sort of price at that point. But the people who are able to do it as well have to first have TitanX that they need to burn for it. And the way that you're able to actually get your Hyper is either you stake it and you burn, or you're just able to burn. Am I correct? I just want to make sure I got that straight.
Yep. So you're going to be able to burn liquid supply or staked supply for Hyper, not miners. So there's a lot of reasons to burn, because one of the biggest questions that you need to answer is, okay, why would anybody even bother with Hyper? There's a lot of reasons why they would bother. One is to get liquid on their stakes. The other one is, if you look on the white paper, there's this thing called the burn bonus amplifier, meaning that if you've burned up to 80 billion in your wallet, and it goes linear, so if you burn 10 billion, you get 1%. If you go up to 80 billion, you get 8%. You can do this over a period of years, like it just adds up pretty much, up to an 8% max, which means you get up to 8% more on your next miners that you start on TitanX. So if the burn bonus amplifier, for the whales, this makes a massive difference. So whales are probably going to love Hyper. Then the next thing is also the burn pool payout, because if 7% of all the Ethereum that gets used to start miners goes into something called this burn pool, if that burn pool is 100 grand, you're pretty much guaranteed that people are going to burn at least 100 grand worth of TitanX for Hyper, because they can snipe that burn pool alone, not talking about Hyper value at all. So those are two reasons why people are going to do it either way, even if it's just a piece of garbage, which it's not. So those are three big reasons why people are going to do it anyway. Get liquid on stakes, get the burn bonus amplifier, and get the burn pool payout in Ethereum. And then Hyper, I'm going to be burning for Hyper. And the reason I'm going to do it is to get liquid on my stakes again. And there's going to be massive arbitrage opportunities between TitanX and Hyper. One of the best ways I've heard people describe TitanX, it's like digital alchemy. You take something, you turn it into something else, and the sum of this something else is a lot bigger than what you put in. And this whole kind of TitanX is designed to be the foundation kind of building stone of everything else built on top of it. So it's other things that are going to give a real world utility to TitanX. TitanX is just designed to be a very, very robust asset that can support everything built on top of it. Because if the coin that is built on top of, or it's going to be the biggest liquidity pool, it's going to have the most buy pressure, etc., etc. If the thing that is everything, so let's say you have like a skyscraper. The skyscraper is, it doesn't matter how tall it is. What matters is how strong the foundation is. So the stronger TitanX is, the stronger everything built on top of it is. So TitanX at its core is designed to be as robust and anti-fragile as possible. So things like Hyper and all the other utilities in the future that the community can build, because it's all permissionless. Nobody needs my permission or a whitelist or whatever to build on top of it, to support everything built on top of it. So the utility will come from future projects being built. Right now, it's just kind of like digital alchemy at its core, where all the economic mass goes towards supporting TitanX, so that there's foundation for everything built on top of it. The Titan DeFi ecosystem is a cool way to call it. Kind of thrives. So Hyper is just a way of earning trustless yield. It's kind of like a leverage play on top of TitanX, which is also interesting to think about. And there's going to be a lot of reasons why people do it, because it's always so. For example, one of the biggest reasons why people are going to burn for Hyper is not the three things that I talked about: staking, burn pool amplifier, burn bonus amplifier, burn pool. The biggest reason people are going to do it is because there's probably going to be very massive arbitrages between TitanX and Hyper, where you could burn, for example, 10 grand of TitanX and get 15 grand worth of Hyper. There's going to be a lot of games being played there, because the biggest liquidity pool is going to be TitanX and Hyper, and then there's other buy and burn factors that Hyper brings to TitanX.